My name is Charles Lawrence Chipley Jr. Last name is Chipley. Charles Lawrence is as normal. November the 8th, 1930.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Bronx, New York. My father was in the Navy, and my mother was a phone operator in New York City, and when he was stationed in Brooklyn, he met her, and so they got married up there. That's the reason why I was born there. And of course, he put 27 years in the Navy, and we moved all over the East Coast here when I was growing up and everything. So I was kind of in my blood. I only had one sibling, was younger than I, but he died of pneumonia when he was only about 11 months old.
Oh.
So I don't have any other sibling. After that, my mother decided no more children.
Did you go through the school in Bronx?
No. I left there when I was about 8, 10 months old, hadn't been back.
Oh.
So I was brought up, Maryland, Virginia, Florida, Georgia, all the different duty stations that my dad was assigned to.
Uh-huh. And where did you finish your high school?
At Frederick, Maryland.
Frederick, Maryland.
Right.
Ah.
I graduated there in 48. Then I went into the Navy in 49, so I was Navy from 1949 to 1979.
You enlisted?
Yes.
Because your father was Navy, so you enlisted Navy?
Not necessarily that as much as I knew I liked to travel. I guess it was in my blood, so I wanted to see part of the world.
Uh-huh.
And I did. Went in, got assigned to a heavy cruiser, and I was having a ball. I got it at Newport, Rhode Island, and Boston. Went around, the Atlantic for a while, and then I went down through the Panama Canal over to California, and we doing a world cruise then. So we hit Hawaii, and then a lot of Pacific islands, Carolina, Marshalls, and so forth.
Wow.
And I was sitting in the Philippines having my ball, getting ready to go to Bali, when the Korean War broke out. So went right straight up to the Korean War.
So you achieved your dream, going all over the world. Huh?
Yeah. So the schedule was to go to Suez Canal and then back to Boston. But
It was like a Caribbean cruise.
yeah, right. I was having my ball till the Korean War broke out, and then we went straight up there. So we got to the Yellow Sea about the 3rd of July.
Well, let me ask questions before you talk about your experience in the Korean War. Where did you get the basic military training?
Great Lakes, Illinois.
Illinois?
In February, in a snowstorm.
Ah, so cold, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What was your specialty?
Well, they wound up putting me in finance, dispersing clerk.
Huh. So you disperse the salaries and stuff?
You're right, correct. Pay bills and all like that.
Uh-huh.
Finance, yeah.
So what was your first assignment in where? When?
On the USS Rochester, the heavy cruiser.
USS Rochester?
CA-124.
CA-124.
Correct.
And that's what kind of ship is it?
A heavy cruiser.
Heavy cruiser. How many Navy crews there?
About close to 900. Basically, we had 8-inch guns. Like a destroyer has 5-inch. We got 8. Battleship has 16. So we had 9 of the 8-inch guns, and then we had about 12 what they call anti-aircraft guns, the quad. And naturally the 8-inch guns are for gunfire support for ground troops and landings and all, and of course the other guns are for protect the ship against aircraft and all. And so that was our mission as gunfire, and to rescue flyers at sea and to clear out mines that were put in the water, like at the Yellow Sea and all that come down. So that was all part of our mission.
When were you first into this ship? When was it?
I went aboard in September of '49.
And where did you go with it?
Well, we started out in
Yeah.
Boston around, then we went through this Panama Canal and up to California and over to Hawaii and a bunch of the islands out in the Pacific, inspecting the old radio stations out there. And then the Philippines and then up to Korea. Well, we started right away with gunfire support for the Korean soldiers ashore. As far in as our guns would reach, you know, we couldn't go within 15 miles in or something, but at least we protected those along the shore.
What were you told when you left the Philippines toward Korea? Tell me about those.
Well, of course, it's hard for me to remember, but I do remember this idea that you were invaded and that our president said we was going to go up and help, and that they were getting a UN force together. And that's about as much as we knew, you know. Well, that's our job to
Were you scared?
go where they told. At that time, yeah, you're a little, I don't know, we call it scary or apprehensive, because you know you're going into battle and you get with all these questions. Well, what do they have, you know, and all like that, and do they have a big air force? We didn't know, you know.
Were you not briefed about enemies and Korea?
Was I what?
Briefed. Nobody ever explained about what is your mission and what is Korea and what is the conditions of the war, things like that. Briefing.
Well, yeah, we got a briefing that North Korea invaded South Korea, and our job was to go up, give gunfire support to drive the North Koreans back across the 38th parallel, and that's what we were told.
Did you know anything about Korea before?
Oh no, nothing. Of course, we had to get on a map. Well, where's Korea? So.
You didn't know anything from your high school?
No.
You stayed inside of this USS Rochester, right? For how long?
Well, I was on board until December '52. It was in Hung Nam. We evacuated the guys out of Hung Nam in '50, so it was be about January, February or so of '51. We went back for repairs and recreation and so forth. The gunfire support, we'd be over in the Yellow Seas on the west coast, and then we'd go over at Hung Nam, Nam Hung, and all of those another time.
And you were discharged December of 1952?
I left the ship then. The ship was still there. They highlined me off into an oiler, and then I went back and then I flew back to the station. I got discharged in January.
Tell me about, so you were there in Yellow Sea and you were part of the Incheon landing?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Tell me about those days, Incheon landing. How?
Basically, let's see, 13, well, in July we got there, gunfire support back and forth, and then they decided to have a landing at Incheon. So on the 13th of September, we went up to Incheon and we bombarded all along the coast for 2 days.
Was it September 13th?
Yeah. And then on the 15th of September was the invasion. And they landed the troops.
Right.
And there's very few loss. I don't remember if it was hardly any, because we had just leveled off, of course, us and a whole bunch of other ships and, you know, bombers and all. So then the invasion was very successful, and they went inland real fast. And so on the 17th, which was on a Sunday then, everything was so secured that we wasn't too much on alert. So we were sitting in Incheon Harbor. Of course, they got a tide that's 32 foot, so we could have got out if we wanted to. And 3 planes came out of the north. Weren't identified to, and one of them being a medium-sized type bomber carrying bombs. And they spotted our ship was the biggest one, so they came by and dropped 4 bombs at us. And thank God the guy, had poor eyesight, I guess, because they hit close to the side, you know, and we got a little shrapnel. But and then the last bomb, we had a crane in the back of the ship. The bomb hit the crane, bounced off in the water, and exploded. So we were just, good Lord was watching over us. Because it would have bounced the other way. That's where we got our fuel and ammunition. So, but That was part we were really scared because we heard, of course, general quarters ringing, and then we heard a bomb, and then you're getting up, getting dressed. You're just shaking like mad, wondering, good Lord, what's happened, because the ship was rolling. And so that was the time we were really, could say, scared. The other time we were apprehensive, you know, and say, come on, we're ready or something. But we never had any other incident or anything. We stood watches on different gun mounts, as well as my finance down in the office. I also had what they call general quarter station, which was a 40 millimeter gun mount for aircraft, you know, to fire at. So we had every 4 hours on there and 12 hours on, back 4 hours on, you know, and whatever the weather was. So that was my job there also.
When did you leave for Hungnam from Incheon?
Leave for what? For
Hungnam.
for Hungnam?
Yeah.
Well, it's not that you actually left, but after Incheon invasion, we still gunfire support for the next, 6 months.
Right.
And then when they was having trouble up at the Marines and all, chosen there, we were called over to go to Hungnam because we were going to have evacuation.
Right.
So we got there the 1st of December of 50. And so we provided gunfire support to all get within our range, you know, so they could start loading all the troops, you know, and then so after and there was thousands of ships, all sorts, fishing boats and everything. Of course, civilians and all. I mean, a couple 100,000 civilians. Everybody was coming out of there. Hungnam.
You saw all of those?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
How was it?
Because we crowded. It was a mass. It was something. And of course, as soon as we pulled out, of course they had demolition teams, and we also bombarded the city so they wouldn't have anything to use, the enemy, you know, it was worthwhile. So that was a big evacuation, yeah. So then we helped escort them down to where they either dropped them off at Pusan or somewhere else. Of course, being enlisted and all, we didn't know exactly what was going on as such, you know, or where they dropped them off or what the plans were, but that's just what we had, you know, was filtered down to us. So at the time.
What were you thinking? What were you thinking when you saw this, so many refugees and so much miserable?
I was thinking, whoop, this war ain't going like it should. There's something wrong here, you know. So the thinking was, of course, we heard there was, we don't know how many, but they say, oh, there's a couple 100,000 Chinese that came across, and so they're coming down and just wiping out everybody. And so, of course, what we was thinking, well, how do we stop them, you know? But, of course, being a enlisted guy, you know, you just think that. You don't know what the heck they're going to do. But, you know, you're kind of scared, mainly for the people in the country, you know. Of course, I was sitting out there, but you're just trying to visualize, you know, 100,000 troops, you know, just wiping them away. Of course, we heard the rumors that naturally, our troops in South Korea didn't have any modern-day weapons, and that Chinese had tanks and everything else. So
Let us talk about the life inside of the heavy cruiser.
we had just about every kind you want to, you know. We had your meat and potatoes and all. Of course, you get vegetable fruit. With the Navy, you can go out and you got a supply ship. So when you start running low, they schedule for going out to sea, coming along supply ship, and replenishing. So we was pretty, of course, you know, you don't have milk or anything like that. You got powdered milk and all, but fresh stuff, you know.
What was your rank at the time?
Well, when I went aboard, I was an E2. When I got off, I was an E6. So I was.
When you were in Korea, what was your rank?
I left the ship, I was an E6, first class petty officer. We started out about $32 a month. By the time I guess 100 and some. And in those days, the pay wasn't too much.
The salary, and then did you have extra combat pay or something, bonus or anything? Tell me about the details, how you make up the whole monthly payment.
Well, the government, you're entitled to, if you're married, then you get family allowance.
Oh.
You know, however, if you get family allowance, you have to send home so much of that to your family.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you get with us was C pay, which was extra duty.
C
And then-
pay?
Yeah, and then combat pay that used to come out, and then
Did you get the combat pay?
oh yeah, if you get combat zone, you get combat pay.
What do you think about your service in the Korean War?
It's a small part, but I figured I did my small part, and I'm very, very proud to help. I just feel so humble the way the Korean people treat us all the time. You know, the embassy here, and when I'm back to the revisit program, and just
You went back?
yes, I did.
Ah,
Always-
when?
2010, I went with the invitation of the Presbyterian Church. After the landing at Incheon,
Mm.
I did go ashore to Womido
Yeah.
with my dispersing officers, exchange money and everything. And of course, when I saw there, you know, was nothing, you know, just desolation. I didn't get back to Womido as such, but Incheon, we got back and saw, of course, and it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. That revisit program, something else.
Any other message you want to leave to this interview?
No, just that I'm so happy that the Korean people have built up like they have in their country. I'm just really, and to have a small part saying, well, I helped in that.